It's just like, just do something. And potatoes are amazing. Like anything with a potato is good. It's good vibes. You know?
Hey everyone, welcome to a special edition of Nicole Reacts, where we clearly have a guest. We'll introduce ourselves. I'm Nicole. I have a marketing company. I've had it for almost 15 years. I work mainly with small business clients on social media strategy, execution, and that kind of thing.
I'm Julie Anderson, and I was a part of the multi-level marketing industry for 5 years, two high control groups simultaneously as part of those 5 years. And I'm out and I'm speaking out, and I really like creating content on TikTok. And here I am.
Awesome. Well, what I love about Julie, I first heard about you via the comment section of a video I had made when someone was like, hey, this person like took this woman's TikTok content and he sold it. And I was just like, what the hell? So then meeting you and learning what you've learned about TikTok, I thought we could have like a really great discussion today. And to be clear, the discussion is we're talking about marketing practices and how Julie and I have been trained and have approached things similarly and differently. Because I know with me, and I think we were talking about this, like getting this call set up, I was telling you about like my friends who had been in these multi-level marketing companies. And I remember like one of my friends, and this is 7 or 8 years ago, so this is a while back, and she said, well, my upline says I need to be posting on Facebook 7 times a day. And I just remember like that hitting me really hard because I wasn't advising my clients of that. So thanks for being open to having this conversation.
You bet. Thank you. This is such a great idea. And it's like really healing for me to pull away the positives and the good and to help like heal and stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, no. So what we did, kind of just to let everyone know is, you know, we talked and then we sort of made a bit of an outline to kind of organize the topics, but we can see if stuff comes up. And if you're like, oh, hey, I did this post, we can pull the post up, like whatever, you know, we're clearly recording this kind of like ahead of the broadcast so that we have time to do this. And if we want to pull stuff in that we can do that. So kind of the first thing and kind of the biggest thing that I think a lot of MLM trainers that I've reacted to on my reaction videos and also as a marketing person, I spend a lot of time thinking about is content, like marketing content. You know, content is king, or a context. Yeah, I think Gary Vee once said, you know, content might be king, but context is God or something. But this idea that like content being like really important. And I know that we've had different approaches about probably, I'm guessing about, you know, what platforms we should be using, like what kind of content we should be posting and how often and messaging and all that. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of what you were trained to do and then maybe like what you did, you know, because maybe you got a training and we're like, I'm gonna like actually do this other thing instead because you're clearly a natural marketer from what I've seen of your work. So yeah. So yeah, just a little bit about like the background you got in this, like what should you do with content?
Sure. So I was part of two like in the multi-level marketing industry, Mon8, and then I also joined a network marketing coaching group called Rank Makers. So I got two kinds of different marketing training. So with Mon8, it wasn't so much like your friend being told to post like 7 or 8 times a day, but it was like 80% of the time. It was predominantly on Facebook because I got in at 2017. So I was just posting on Facebook. And you should post 80% of the time on your personal, just your regular normal Facebook account lifestyle. So that could be, and it's just to show people like, how could you possibly be posting in the middle of the day? Like that's going to create curiosity. It's like, wow, you must be making some money that you can just be on social media, you know, throughout the day. And then 20% of the time is supposed to be about the products or the business. But then that changed over from when I was with Mon8, then when I started with Rank Makers, it was like, do a live video every day. That would be like gold. Like if you do a live video every day, what I was taught, like Ray Higdon runs this group, he would say, it's like mowing the lawn with an electric lawnmower versus like a hand mower. Why would you not use the electric lawnmower? You're going to get more results if you do a live video every day. So doing a live video every day, and then maybe making like another post that could be, again, like lifestyle or curiosity. He was really big on not spamming like Mon8 was. Like Mon8 was like, they don't care. Just like you can talk about your products, show your routine, do this, talk about the opportunity. But Ray was more like, do a curiosity post, write about, he would always say too, I've like joked about this since. So shout out to my girl, Sally. Her husband complimented her on how smooth her legs were. And then just leave it at that. And then that would be like, wow, I would like to have smooth legs too. But it was always like, shout out to my girl, Sally. So that would be an example of a curiosity post.
I'd be like, why do I know this about Sally's husband? That's what I'd be wondering. Like what they're into, I don't really necessarily want to know about. I mean,
so that's my example. He never said anything about Sally's legs, but he's said lots of things about Sally's hair and about Sally's skin.
Yes.
Yeah, times to post, that would be it. Although I did emulate my upline as well. So that is the person that I signed up with underneath in Mon8, and she had a business page. So then I would create content on my business page, and I was doing that daily. At first I thought, because I was just seeing and copying, I thought, oh, I'll do it once in a while. But then I thought, oh, I should do this every day because this is a real business. And then as I started to grow, I had a customer group. I created my own customer group on Facebook and then a team group. So then I started to make additional content in those as well. But primarily, like the training that we were taught to is 80% of the time lifestyle posts, and then 20% of the time talking about your business, your products, your opportunity. But then when stories became a thing, like Instagram and then Facebook, then it was like, the inner circle coaching that I took through the Higdon group was like, you should do 10 stories a day. It should be very easy. Just show that you're drinking coffee, just show whatever. And then you could do like a poll. Would you like to know what this coffee gives me so much energy? And always have like yes and yes, like not a no option, like yes and heck yeah, or whatever. So that's a little bit.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Nothing like not letting people consent, right? Like it's just yes or yes. But I'm just thinking, okay, so you're talking about, so you're posting on a personal as well as a business page. You also have a group, and then you're also posting stories. Like when you were like trying to do everything, like how long was that taking you every day?
You're on it all the time, and you don't track your time because it's sold to you like you can fit it into the pockets of your day.
Yeah.
But it's all day because you're just completely addicted to your phone. You're addicted to your phone anyway. But then now with this, like it's the perfect marriage of like social media addiction and then network marketing. Plus there's following, plus there's sending prospecting messages. That doesn't even count the time that is taking, but just the marketing, it's taking all day.
And I love that you've distinguished that because a lot of times they don't, but like to me, I see it as two kind of separate activities. So, so you've got, now, did they encourage you to diversify on the platforms, or they just said like, you should be posting Facebook stories, you should be doing live videos? Did they say like, do everything on Facebook, or did they say, hey, you should also be on these other platforms as well? Like, how did they, I guess when new platforms came up, like TikTok, which you're like amazing at, like, how did they incorporate, I guess, that into their trainings and best practices that they put forth to you guys?
Mon8 was further ahead than Rank Makers for Instagram. And they would say like, get on Instagram. So there was like a lot of younger women that were getting into Mon8, and they were already like on Instagram. So Mon8 actually had like a bunch of trainings before I left. My first time speaking out against multi-level marketing companies and everything was December 13th last year, 2021. And at the time, like in the back office still, they had all these really great, like 1 to 2 minute like tutorials on how to create a post on Instagram and all this stuff. Rank Makers was still like, Ray was really focused on Facebook. It was just like, be on Facebook. And then gradually it was like, you could go on Instagram, and he would bring in like guest trainers, like, Shailene Johnston, I think that's her name. I think he hired her as a coach to tell, and then she would sell courses on Instagram. This is how it works, right?
Yeah.
And then
all the gurus self-refer to each other.
That's right. And I was buying it all, and I was taking all these notes. I'm like, oh, I got to do this. And then, but it was primarily Facebook through Rank Makers. And then, but when TikTok came about, that was Ray was like shitting on TikTok from the beginning, because I was in 100K inner circle coaching, and I was telling my coach, like, this is an amazing platform. Of course, now multi-level marketing content goes against community guidelines, which I saw you, thank God, had posted like in a video that you had made. And I'm like, yes, because this needs to be known, right? But at the time I didn't care because I was in multi-level marketing. That's what we do. We're like, we can like twist the rules. And it's kind of similar to Facebook and Instagram. We'll just write a curiosity post. We won't make it evident that we're in multi-level marketing. But he was really dead set against TikTok when I started speaking out, like you got to get on this. It was about 2019. And he kept calling it ding dong. He said it was going to die like it was Vine. until it became apparent that it was a force to be reckoned with. And then he was like, he got on board. And then he does like, he sells TikTok courses now, and which he shouldn't be, because multi-level marketing content goes against community guidelines, but he doesn't suffer the repercussions from that. It's only his clients that will. So, well, who cares? He can get the money, it's kind of, it's too bad.
Well, and I've seen him like on stage tell people to like do things like come up with meal plans for your customers. And
oh yes,
like, so, and if you haven't seen that video, basically if there's certain industries in which we have to be careful what we say, how we say it, and anything that can look like an endorsement. So for example, with the meal plans, if you're in the US, I'm not sure what it's like in Canada, but you have to be a registered dietitian. And I think maybe physicians can make meal plans as well. But there's very specific designations of people who can make meal plans. You're not supposed to sell meal plans if you're just like, like you can be a health coach all you want, but like you can't do meal plans. And like I said, if you're my health coach and you look at my food log, you might say like, oh, Nicole, it seems like, you could be eating some more vegetables or getting some more water. Like you can coach someone into like how they can improve their eating, but like you can't even give away meal plans, I don't think. So I've seen him suggest things, and I'm like, we have to be aware that like there is some rules about, different things, especially in the sort of health and wellness space, that we have to be, and anything sort of financial too, I mean, there's some cryptocurrency MLMs, I think now, like you can't, that's why if you read, like, I think I said, like, if you read, I've done blogs and social media for like 4 banks now and a financial planner, and you just have to be really careful, like the kinds of stuff you post. And it ends up being kind of a little bit boring because you can't get super into it because it can't look like you're endorsing a particular product or giving investment advice or anything like that. So, but yeah, I thought it's interesting that sometimes he gives examples that you can't exactly act on. And the other thing, and we were talking about this, when I watch Ray Higgins TikToks, like I feel like basically, those little like things people do where they say, I made a bot watch 1,000 romantic comedies and here's the first scene of the script it came up with. I feel like that when I watch his TikToks, like that it's like an alien discovered TikTok and is trying to make them, but like if something feels off about it. So I think it's really interesting. So like that he's selling training about it. And like I said, part of me wanted to sign up for the free training and see what he was saying, but I think he's basically taking what you're saying and probably like making it worse. But
that's because he did take what I was saying and he just took it because he asked me to create a training, which he bundled up. It was called TikTok and Profit. And my training was like 17 minutes and 33 seconds. And it was bundled up as bonus number 2. And he did sell it. So, but I didn't get paid anything for it, which that's like led me eventually out to like questioning things and that.
Well, I'm going to throw it out there. If I can get this channel monetized and this channel makes any money, you're going to split the proceeds of this video halvesies because you deserve to get paid for your intellectual work. And just to talk a little bit about, okay, so you sort of, so with my clients, the advice I would give is I always tell them to diversify their platforms, to not, it's like putting all your eggs in one basket. So like, let's say, I don't know, Twitter gets bought by a billionaire who's crazy. For example, if you only had stuff on Twitter, like, and suddenly that whole environment changed, that kind of stinks. So what we tell most of our clients is we say, let's put, and we can cross post like similar content. I mean, obviously I'm going to like not really use many, if any, hashtags on Facebook, but I will use them on Instagram, or like I might make the material a little bit different for the different platforms. But I would say like 3 platforms, post once a day, twice a day if you feel like it. And I tell them, at first, like I don't really know what's going to work well for you. So what I tell people is, especially with like Instagram, right? You've got reels, you've got stories, you've got in-feed posts, you've got live videos. So what I say is, do a couple of each, for a week, for 4 weeks. So like do 2 lives, 2 in-feed posts, 2 reels, and do it for like a month, and then look at your data, and you'll probably see that there's certain things that are working well for your account. But like, people just get real hung up on like, they want the formula, they want the thing that's going to make them go viral, they want the thing that's going to give them explosive follower growth, or and what I tell them is, listen, if I had that figured out, I'd be selling that and I'd be lying on a beach somewhere and not talking to you.
That's right.
I mean that in the nicest possible way. Like, if one thing worked for everyone, I would just tell you what it is. But the reality is, like, different things work for different kinds of accounts. And so what I tell people is lightly experiment, and you're not too attached to it. And, I will say, so Julie has a TikTok training that she posted that's updated. I'll link to it in the show notes, but I got some good little nuggets. I got some little pearls of wisdom, some little nuggets. And one of the ones I want to bring up and I want you to explain to people is throwing a potato. And I have a potato related social media story after this.
Oh, I love potato stories.
We have the potato in common. So tell me about throwing a potato.
Throwing a potato, it's to not take yourself so seriously when you're posting content or creating content, especially on TikTok. And so a lot of people that are new to posting, they'll be really hesitant, and they think that they need to take this course or have the formula, like you said. And then they have to edit it, and it has to be right, and it has to be intentional. And so what I did is I just take a fucking potato and I just video my hand and I just like wing it and just throw it. And that was it. And it was good because I had enough like larger number following or whatever, that people would think, oh, I can't mess up my feed. I'm like, I will mess up my feed. I don't give a shit. You don't have to give a shit either. You can just throw a potato and just see what happens. And it's cool because then some people would like duet throwing the potato. It might be their first piece of content. And I think it's just a really cool way to illustrate that you don't have to take yourself seriously, and you can create a piece of content about anything, especially on TikTok. It's just to get people over that hump of thinking they have to know everything. They have to create a viral video. They have to have the right hashtag. It's just like, just do something. And potatoes are amazing. Like anything with a potato is good. It's good vibes.
I bought this postcard once when I was traveling somewhere, and I still have it on the fridge, and it's like, happiness is regular sex and potatoes. But my actual potato story is during the pandemic. I went through a breakup, and I like moved in with my mom, and I was like sitting at home, and I have this weird skill set, right? Like I can, build websites, and I do marketing and whatever. And I was just sitting, and I just saw all these people who like wanted to make money online. And I thought, you know what? So I have a completely like free course, and I made it on a domain 2020makesomemoney.com. I'll link it in the show notes. But what I did is I created an entire, and it's, by the way, you don't have to give your email to see it. It's just open, and it's been open since 2020, and it gets a lot of traffic. It's hilarious. But basically I'm like, I will take you start to finish on creating a business. But I was like, what the hell am I going to do? So I made a fake product called the Potato Pandemic Cookbook, because my mom lives across the street from a potato farmer. And so we're living together, and she's like, well, and we call him Uncle George. By the way, any older man that goes by uncle, like, little creepy, right? So she's like, Uncle George has some potatoes. He's a 50-pound bag of potatoes. And I was like, get it. Let's get it. And so we spent a month. We took turns, and we did like a potato challenge. And so every day one of us would cook a potato dish, and then we would rate it and everything. So my fake product for my stupid online store was the Potato Pandemic Cookbook. And because I wanted to like just show like, okay, here's a Facebook page with nothing on it. Here's me making graphics about the Potato Pandemic Cookbook. Maybe in the editing process, I'll put some graphics on some example social media graphics I created on the screen or whatever. But when you said throw the potato, I was like, that's hilarious, because I've also created potato content.
That's so cool. There's something about the potato.
It's versatile.
It is. Everybody loves potatoes.
It's so funny because, clients too, they get really like, they want everything. And listen, like, and we call it in the company #picky bitch. So before a piece of content goes out for a client, I'll like send it to one of my, or someone on my team will make it and send it to me, and we'll be like, picky bitch, like, be a picky bitch about this. Like, is it is the font alignment? Because you know what, that's why you're paying a marketing company for, is that kind of thing. But at the same time, we'll show up to do content and stuff with people, and this one time it's hilarious. It's a mother who's like probably in her 80s and her two like middle-aged daughters who run this store. So I went in to do content, and the mom, she's like, she might be in her 70s. I don't want to overly age Joan because maybe she's not. She's just like, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to be in the videos. I'm like, no problem. By the end of the day, she was like, okay, go over here. I'm gonna stand here, and she was like directing us. So and people love her videos. They think she's hilarious. And but if she would have wanted it to be like this perfectly marketed piece, but now she's a light internet sensation. So
you just don't know. By throwing the potato, you just don't know. It could be like throwing the potato, like figuratively speaking, like for Joan. She just had this like idea, but then she just like she changed. That's so cool.
I mean it's nice when people can have a little bit of fun with it, because and if you look at brands like if the Duolingo owl or whatever, it's always these brands who are having a little bit of fun with their content, who get that viral lift or whatever, so but I loved the throwing the potato one, so I think that's awesome. So our next topic and we talked about this is, so the marketing content is like what you're putting out there, and then there's the responses, right? So you're getting reviews some places, you're getting comments, and then on TikTok you're getting people who are stitching or duetting your video, right? So it's like it's iterative in nature, which is what I love about TikTok. Is like you're always kind of adding on to what other people, or interacting with stuff. Like I love the interactive nature of it. I think it's great. But in terms of how you were trained and how you ran your businesses, how were you supposed to like respond to messages and comments? And what I always thought might be confusing, in particular with MLM stuff, is like you're having all these different conversations with people who are at different stages with things. And how do you like, keep track of all that? And, how do you deal with responses on the content you created, or the messages, that are coming in from your different channels?
It's a total shit show disaster, especially if you start having a lot, and because you're creating content, you're prospecting, you're attending these trainings, you're going to events, you're all over, plus you're trying to live your life. So when a comment comes in, we were trained, and this is primarily now through Rank Makers, is that this is what we were trained to do, is like you respond to every comment. And ideally you heart each comment. This is on Facebook, because hearting something, loving something gives more of an emotional connection than just liking something. And if they ask for information, then you say, I'll send you a DM, because you want to have the conversation off, because this is the point. And this is Ray trained on this, and I used it one time and I thought I was such a stud. I even like posted about it afterwards. I'm like, I did the script, and I just really showed it to them. It's so embarrassing. If somebody says, why don't you just say the name of the company? Well, the whole point is that if they Google the company, they're going to find bad reviews. But what we were coached is that then you say that. He used this word of being postured, which is not the right word, but he's like, you be postured around this. You say, I could give you the name of the company, but then you're going to go out and do your own independent research, and you're not going to get the facts. So I understand if you don't want me to send the name, but then that's okay. But then this isn't for you. And be like just super like arrogant and dismissive in the comments. And it did work. And the one person I know the one time it happened to me, they were like, okay, that makes sense. I'm like, there's so much of this stuff that just like, it comes in my head at night. I'm like, I can't believe I did that. That's how we dealt with that kind of thing. If anybody would look at your stories, we were also coached. If you don't have any prospects coming in, people, then you go to anybody that even looks at your stories and send them a message. Thanks for looking at my story. Just curious. Would you be open to taking a look at this? If not, no big deal. Or it's just like more of a insidious thing of like, just not popping the question right away, but just kind of like working the relationship. But Ray was very big on like popping the question right away and not wasting people's time. Like he would say, like, it's really gross to like nurture a fake relationship and then ask the question. Monate was more of developing these relationships over time and then hoping, like, invite them to see your opportunity or whatever. Also, if like content is, if content is made about you negatively, like you block them. Don't interact. They're vibrating at a lower frequency. They're a hater. They're jealous of you. They're trying to destroy your business. and they're trying to take food off the table of single mothers. So it's like so it's just like instant. You just don't even react, just block that person. And yeah, I think I've covered everything.
Yeah, no, that it makes, I never thought I'd agree with Ray Higdon on something, but at least, at least you bring it up right away, at least you bring it up right away. Cause that's what I can smell is like, so a woman will friend me and we have some friends in common, but I'm like, okay, this seems out of the blue. And then she'll leave comments on several of my things. And then I just wait for it. I wait for the message. I just, you know what I mean? But like, I know it. So yeah. And the Monet people, they really want me to sell the hair thing because I have gray hair and that's so #brave, of me.
Oh my God.
So, they're always trying to, and I'm like, no, I'm not interested. I have a business. Like I'm good. And it's so funny because they'll take it so personally. And I'm like,
yeah,
I have a business. Like it's not, my no is, I feel like it's legit. Like I've had a business for 15 years. Like I'm not just going to like dump it and just start selling, this random product from someone who left 3 comments. But, one thing, so what we do for our clients is we check messages once a day on the weekdays. Cause I take weekends, or I try to take weekends off from that stuff.
You take weekends off. That's something that they should be emphasized because we are taught you never take time. If you take a couple of days off, you're going to be 3 months behind. And come the end of the month, you got to push. At the beginning of the month, push before it's the 15th. So that's really cool that you said you actually take weekends off.
No, and I try not to. Like we have Slack, but I am very clear with everybody. I'm like, listen, my memory just sucks. And so if I put a message in, I do not expect you to look at that message until Monday morning. Like I just put it in there so I don't forget to tell you. So, but don't look at it. And if I get a message on the weekend, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, get off. I just think it's really important to take time off. And so we just set the expectation with our clients. We're checking on the weekdays. We'll go in once a day and we'll, report spam comments or, it's funny. Jessica works for me. She's like, sometimes people will leave a weird comment. So I do a lot of praise hand emojis. She's like, praise hand emoji. It being kind of useful for like the times where you want to like, okay, like this is random, but go you. Yeah. So if you get a praise hand emoji from my company, sorry, we just didn't know what else to say. But yeah, and my whole thing too is that, and I finally like let this go. I really tried to pursue zero inbox and everything, and I get probably, I don't know, 100 emails a day. And people are like, oh, is that marketing? And I'm like, no, I'm filtering I'm filtering them. I am like, my email is a hellscape that'll never be under 1,000 unread messages. So what I just now feel, I used to feel a need to like write back to people and be like, I'm not interested or whatever. But what I realize is like, I don't owe these people a response. Like they're coming uninvited into my messaging related to that. I think they're mining it off of LinkedIn. I think I finally figured it out. So I'm going to take my email address off of LinkedIn because I'm like, how are these people getting my email? And I realized that I have my email publicly visible on LinkedIn because like I want people to be able to contact me, but I think that's where they're getting it. But yeah, I mean, I don't think everybody is owed a response like at all. And I think at a certain point, especially when you've had some videos go viral on TikTok, right? Yeah. Like you're getting hundreds of thousands of views, you're getting tens of thousands of comments. Like you can't.
It's impossible.
I think, and people I think understand that you're not going to hire a freaking 24-hour PR team to like heart your comments. Like,
and it's dangerous for women to do that anyway, because especially on TikTok, like on Facebook too, it's like love as opposed to like. We were taught to love every comment, like every comment. So I'm like doing what I'm told because I'm coachable. I don't know what I'm doing. That's why I'm paying money to get coached. So loving something can send the wrong signal, especially if somebody they're just like loving your stuff and they get like 5 messages in a row, like notifications that you've loved them. It's not a big leap to then think like, we've got a relationship. They love me. Mm-hmm. And then when you're in network marketing, you need to always be responding to every messages because you don't know, they might know a friend, they might convert. So you miss these really brutal red flags. You shouldn't be responding to every message. You should not be liking every comment. Like you got to like look at if it's the general on Facebook saying, hi, honey. I don't want to make you feel odd, but I really like your account. Maybe you could friend request me. It's like, you got to block that person. That's not a general.
That's not, no, but he's always widowed, and he's always in some weird, I'm like, what's wrong with being divorced? Come on. Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, oh, widowed, huh? Yeah, I know. It's like, and I think that a lot of these trainers are men, right? That are in the network marketing and other spaces too, like in my industry too, a lot of, tech people, right? I deal with a lot of men in my industry too. And sometimes they'll train you, and it's because, we're just going to give you like just some blanket permission here. If you're a woman watching this, you're getting more messages than these men are.
Oh yeah.
Like, I doubt that there's, maybe there's a couple of creepy women. I mean, I'm sure there are. There are. But I think there's way more creepy men leaving hi, beautiful comments or sending weird messages. And yeah, you do not owe everybody a response, because you just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Boundaries. And most normal people know that. Yeah. And when you set a boundary and someone's weird about it, that tells you something too. Like with my clients, I tell them, I'm like, listen, I generally don't work on the weekends, but if your email goes down, if your website goes down, or if you can't take payment, like those are three emergencies, call me. You have my phone number, call me, and I will drop what I'm doing. And I've done this before. I've been on the top of a literal little mountain, gotten a phone call, my website's down, I've gotten down, and I've like got it back online within an hour. You know what I mean? So I tell my clients, I'm like, I take your livelihood seriously, and so just call me. But like, I need the personal boundary of not checking my messages everywhere at least like 2 days a week. That just, and like I said, if you want to set a healthy boundary and someone's weird about it, I don't think you want to be in business with them, whether you're in an MLM or not.
Exactly.
Yeah. And now our next topic is a little bit, and I'm not sure how much they cover this, but in most marketing circles, right, you're told to, obviously you're creating marketing content. That's free, right? Like whatever people see on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. But they also say to like make these things, like a free download or a free course or something like that you offer for free to get in exchange, typically someone's email address or phone number, right, for a text message. And then, part of it, I'm not sure, maybe I don't know if rank makers, did they encourage you to like make your own sort of content or things that were paid as an additional like income line item for your business? And
no.
Okay.
But I suspect that they kind of do, because I didn't hear it. And I think maybe because I'd see other people that were like top income earners, they all did that. But yet in rank makers, you're being told not to. And my first coach was telling me, because I had a business page and I was taking other courses because I really, really like making content. And I enjoyed learning about marketing. I was actually learning about marketing from somebody who knew about marketing, and I was paying and learning, and I was having a good time. And I would like boost posts and like create little ads and stuff like that. But my coach is like, don't do that. That's not duplicatable or duplicable. I still don't know what the right word is for that, because your team
I don't know either.
Everything, you'll hear that word a lot. Everything needs to be duplicated. Duplication means it's so easy that anybody can do it. They can see you doing it and then they can do it. But there'd always be these contradictions as well, which is, well, Ray would teach you, it doesn't matter how they come to you, these prospects. It's what you do with them after they contact you. But I was told, don't run paid ads. But I did anyway. I ignored that and I was like trying it. And they would have other content creators or other like people with an MLM. They would have these, like, you could see them. They'd have these advertisements. They'd come across my feed. They'd be like offering something, some free giveaway. But within, like, for most of us within rank makers, it's like, no, you just don't do that. It's a waste of time. Don't have a business page. It's got to be about duplication. You post on your personal, anybody with a grade 3 education can do this just by looking at it. That's what we were taught.
Interesting. In terms of like free content versus paid content, I think I was watching a Ray Higdon thing and I can't remember. I think he said he created like one long form piece of content a day or something, or it could have been a week. And I think a week sounds kind of more sane. I did a live stream for almost 3 years every week where I like, the Nicole Reacts videos are like just me reacting to random marketing trainings, but these videos were a little more tactical. It was like, one of them I did was, here's trending sounds, you know, what they are, how to use them in your marketing, why they're important, or like, oh, here's how to set up your Google My Business page, you know, to be more visible in local search or something like that. And so like once a week though, still by the time I like researched the topic, found examples, recorded it, and then, you know, put it on my website and all that, it was taking like 3 or 4 hours a week just for that one piece of content. Right. And I'm just, so when I work with my clients and they're like, oh, I want to, you know, and on our end, like we are opening a new business in a new market and we want to build our email list before we open. So we made a free ebook. It was like, you know, give an email for this like useful local resource. And I thought like, you know, because we're a co-working space. So like we want people to like physically come in. That's like part of our business model. So we just made a little local piece of content. We distributed it and we probably got about 200 email addresses from it, but it took a while to make it. You know what I mean? Like we had to like lay it out, and then we had to like go into some local Facebook groups that we were allowed to do that with and just be like, hey, you know, we made this. If you want it, you know, click here to download it. But for most people, I say like that might be like a once a year, once every couple of year thing that you do. That's not like not something you're expected to do all the time. And I feel like a lot of these trainings, it's like, oh, you should be like creating value or like, right.
Absolutely.
I think that's the, and you should be like offering these free trainings and whatever. And the thing is like most people like don't have the bandwidth to do it. And I say this as a market. This is literally my fucking full-time job is to market. Okay. And I'm telling you that like, I don't have time to post 10 stories a day or whatever. Right. So with the free content in terms of like getting emails or something, I tell people like, listen, if you're going to like make a course or you're going to make an ebook or you're going to like make some kind of resource, you know, it's not something you can do all the time. And there just has to be like a reason, you know, for doing it. Like I said, like you want more email addresses or you want to introduce yourself to a certain customer segment. So like, I don't know, your Monat or Monet, I don't even know how to pronounce it.
I know.
And maybe like,
to...
yeah. And maybe you want to reach like an audience. You're like, oh, most of, you know, I want to reach people with curly hair or something because we have a specific new product about curly hair. So I'm going to make an ebook specifically about how to take care of curly hair, you know, with stuff from experts and also an insertion of my products. And I'm going to, you know, let people download that with an email address or something like that. But you don't have time to be creating that all the time. But something that we can do a little bit more often, and I do a lot for my clients, is run ads. The ads always have a specific purpose to them. And it's so funny because I've had another MLM person tell me too, she had a different training and two different MLMs than you're talking about, or two different groups than what you're talking about. And she was like, yeah, they said that the ads didn't work. And I was like, and, you know, then I was showing her some stuff with ads and she's like, oh, I could see this working. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, so, you know, and I think there was a fellow marketing person that I know who said like, ads are like a gas stove. Like you turn it on and it heats up right away, but you turn them off and it cools down right away. Whereas your organic social media is like an electric, you know, it'll be slow to warm up, but if you completely stop doing it, you turned it off, it would also cool down more slowly too. But so to me, ads are an important part of the mix. But I tell people I'm like 10%, you know, of the, you know, of a marketing budget, maybe I would put toward maybe ad spend. And the ads have to be very specific. So whether you want to get email addresses or want to get people to a certain page of your website or whatever, right? And also when I run the ad, I'm also going to be running a test. I'm always going to be learning something from the ad set. So like for one client, it was like a tutoring company, and I did it to the same audience, and I had one stock photo was like a little boy doing homework and one was a little girl doing homework. Creepy enough, little girl converted at 23. Just that, and it was 2 stock photos. It was just a little change. Wow. And so what I tell them is over time, if we run ads for you and we're trying these different things, over time, our ads will get less and less expensive because we're learning what your potential audience is responding to. You know, what kinds of imagery, what kinds of wording, what kinds of targeting are working, what platforms are working, you know? So to me, ads are a good part of the mix, but like, they're not a substitute for like creating a relationship with it. So, you know, these people, I think they just don't want to go into ads. Cause I think MLM ads are against Facebook or Meta community guidelines. So
I think they are too. I report them now every time I see them, you know?
Yeah. So that might be why one way of glossing something over is to just say it doesn't work, right?
Yeah. And actually, as you were talking, this unlocked another memory. I remember Ray talking about that and purposely making it sound really complicated, that his business, like running Rank Makers and the Higdon Group, is like enough of a business. This is so funny because it's such another contradiction to, invest the time into running ads. And he would talk about testing, test A, test B, but he says it's just much too complicated for you, for you people to possibly understand this. That's why you shouldn't even invest it. Just keep it simple. Like, it sounds kind of reasonable when you're in it, but now hearing it, it's like, it's not. That's just what actual businesses do. Use social media to run ads.
Well, and like, and I think we've talked about this before. I just find a lot of these people are really condescending to their audience. I actually recorded a video. It's not online yet, but I reacted to this marketing guy who said, like, if you do this, I know you don't know anything about marketing. That was the hook at the beginning of the podcast. And I was like, okay, like that's one way to say it, but another way to say it would be like, hey, you might think to do this, but stick around. I've got a better idea that actually will make you more money. Like, it's the same thing, but not making the other person feel like crap about it. But I think Ray, I was watching one video where he was talking about a sales funnel, and he's like, well, funnel and blah, blah. And he's
the marketing funnel, he's with the thong, and it's like the wink, wink. Oh, Jesus Christ. I heard that story so many times. So many of us did. And he would always do this in the 14-day challenge.
He said the thong thing over and over again.
This is like a staple training. Anybody that has been in Rank Makers will know that this is a staple training about the marketing thong. And I remember him, like, I watched your video, and I remember, like, and I'm like, what is this? What is the point of this? It's so completely confusing. But I think it's like he's trying to, from my perspective, trying to, like, warn people away. Don't purchase these things that are telling you to funnel customers in, because you don't have anybody. You're just this network marketer. You're going to use as your funnel your live video, which could be about any topic, which you should be doing every day. And it would not surprise me if he did say that he's doing a long form video every day, because he did do live videos every day, which he told us for 10 years. That counts as a long form video over 10 years, which is why I went live every day for 3.5 years. Cause I'm like, I have to do what he does. Right.
Oh my God. But like, that's such an amazing commitment though. Like, I mean, that's fucking impressive.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like an idiot, but
no, you don't need to.
Finally wake up. You finally wake up and you learn some things from it. But that marketing thong, that he would draw it like this and like be like, this is a woman wearing a thong. And so your live video is going to catch all these people. So you're going to talk about muskox oxen, because you can talk about anything you want, and that's going to catch way more people, because 97% of people just need more information. They're like, and he'd have like these little acronyms or whatever, like need more NMI, right? No, need more information. And then he'd draw them down, and then you have the call to action. Would you like by the way, having nothing to do with muskox oxen, my girl Sally just grew her hair 2 inches. Would you like my 3 tips on how you could possibly grow your hair? And then, so it's all about creating conversations too. He's really adamant about that. Like, you're not going for the sale right away. It's about creating conversations. So
and I agree with that. Yeah.
Moving down into the funnel. So he'd say 97% of people need more information. I guess like 2% of people are, I don't know, and maybe they're ready to buy right away. 1% of people are never going to buy from you ever. Maybe it's 2% of people need they'll never buy from you just because they can't stand you. And then 1% of people are like ready to buy. That was, I think, if I remember it right, that's how his thought went.
Well, it was funny because when I was watching the video, and he's like, oh, it looks kind of like a thong. I thought it was just this like weird I thought it was a weird throwaway comment. So it's so interesting that.
Oh no, this is old material. A lot of this stuff since I've been out and I look back, I'm like, I've heard that same thing for 5 years. How did I not see this? But I'm like, that story. Yeah, the marketing thong story. Yeah.
Right. Well, and what I noticed about these people is first of all, they talk to you like you're like oh, like you're like, oh, well, you clearly don't know anything. And it's like, whoa, calm down. Like, I don't talk. If I talk to my clients that way, I wouldn't have any clients. Okay. Also, like, they want help, right? They're in the room, they're in my training, or they've hired me because they want my help, and I don't need to be a fucking dick about it. But the second thing I noticed about him is and all these actually other people too, they'll bring up a topic. They'll be like a marketing funnel. But like, that's kind of complicated. And it's like, okay, either don't bring it up or be ready to explain it. Because a marketing funnel isn't hard. I can explain it. And like, a marketing funnel is this idea that like, there's people who are aware of you. And then over time, there's less people who are like maybe thinking about buying from you. And that at some point they're going to buy something small from you. And this idea that there are different people coming into and out of your funnel, and they're at different stages of considering a purchase. Wait, what was that? 20 seconds? I explained a marketing funnel, and like, it's right.
Yeah,
and it's
I
like,
understand.
of course you do. It's not that hard. This isn't particle physics, guys. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and if I can't explain something, I'm not going to bring it up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be
That's
like, I'm
why
gonna bring this. And there was one he talked about. He's like, segmentation. I like the way he said segmentation. I'm like,
yes.
He's like, well, it's kind of this like very important marketing thing, but like the advanced marketers are doing it, but it's kind of complicated. I'm like, no, it's this idea that like you can give certain audiences certain messages based on their behavior or demographics. Was that 7 seconds? Like, it's like, if you know marketing, you can explain it. And if you can't explain it, don't bring it up and don't do trainings. I don't understand. But so this leads into like this other thing, right? Which is tone. So like we talked a second ago about like posting 10 Instagram stories a day. Like, we have so much time to do that. But, there's also like the idea of like, the words you're using, the imagery you're using, and conveying a certain vibe or whatever. And I will say the Monet girls are like pretty good at this, because I can tell when Monet marketing is happening to me. Some of these other ones are a little less obvious to me. So how were you coached? And then, like I said, I get that how you were coached and then how you actually did it might be different, because you probably passed through a bit of a bullshit kind of detector before you actually implemented it. But like, how were you told to sort of talk to customers? What kind of, how were you supposed to like create a sort of vibe or sort of community with your messaging? Like all that sort of tone stuff. How were you trained, or were you even trained on that at all?
No, it's weird. It's like this nebulous thing that was never spelled out like this. Like, how do you talk to customers? It was never spelled out like it. It was more like, it's always about having control and being in control over the conversation, that people have to qualify themselves to even have your time, because ultimately you want to recruit people. That's the bottom line. Or if you're giving a sample, people need to qualify to get a sample. So in Rank Makers, there was a flow chart that would, because a lot of this is like if people are reaching out to you, even through your marketing, not just prospecting, you'd like to create conversations. You may, in that conversation, find it helpful to send them a video of your company, right? Then it can follow in, and this is the business opportunity. It's one of those 2-minute videos that just suck. They're so brutal. And then you'd follow this flow chart of how you communicate to people. And you're supposed to use this language verbatim, because it's been tested thousands of times and has been incredibly successful. And also at the same time, if it's not being successful, you need to tweak it in your own language. But if you tweak it in your own language with how you say things and it's still not working, why did you tweak it? You need to go back to using this script verbatim, because it's worked. So, and we have countless people that say this has worked. A lot of it has been like, always being, people are lucky to be with you. People are lucky to sign up with you. So that's the underlying tone. But then of course, then there's the bullshit meter. Like, I don't want to talk to people like that. Like, that's not okay. I believe them. They're having a hard time. Like, their hair is falling out. Their shampoo bottle is broken. I'm going to call customer service. I'm on my customer side. But at the same time, I'm like taking all this in. I'm like, I have to act and pretend like I'm the CEO, because how would a CEO act to a broken shampoo bottle? They wouldn't care. They wouldn't get very excited or worried about a shipment being late or a lawsuit being lodged against Monet. They would just look ahead and just keep on going and keep creating more content. So the tone, like the underlying tone, is like gaslight. It's not nice. It's
well, and I think like what they're kind of the part they're missing about the CEO not caring is the CEO cares, but they're paying someone else to deal with it, right? Because they have to, right? And I read some Tim Ferriss 4-Hour Workweek years ago. But the only like useful nugget I remember from that book was he talked about how he had his vitamin supplement company, and he had like a call center where people, like if they were missing their orders, right, or something was broken or whatever, they would call in. And what he realized was he was spending a lot of his time like dealing with these little issues. So what he gave all the people answering the phone, he said, you know what, if the problem costs less than $25 to fix, just solve it. I give you blanket permission to solve it, right? And then he realized his like stuff calls, you know, customers were happier, like his customer service agents were empowered to like solve the problem. So then he upped it to $50. And then like, you know what I mean? So I will say, like, it's not that the CEO doesn't care, it's that the CEO has delegated the caring and has procedures about caring to someone else because like you need to care. And like, yeah, that's why it rubbed you the wrong way, right? Because you're like, I'm a human, I'm selling something to someone, I care about if they're happy with it or not.
Yes.
And yeah, and I always think it's really interesting, especially the rate, because I did you ever get to watch him do like a sales call or something? Like a lot
Never.
or like a lot.
Just the stories, the man, the myth, the legend.
See,
we never
See, like that's what I always thought would be really helpful with these people is like, okay, I want to watch you. I want to watch you message somebody. And even if like it's later on and we're playing the messages, like, okay, so this is what they message and then this is what I message back. If you saw a few examples of that, I feel like the average person is like, oh, like I see how I would deal with that.
Yes,
Like I've been now trained on how to deal with it. Like, right.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's so
great point.
I always like wanted to see like, and then, you know, also, yeah, I want to see your sales funnel, you know, right. I want to see like, okay, how many people are you talking to right now, building relationships with or whatever? How many people have you sent the opportunity to? How many people are you following up with? Like, I just want to see like what your percentages are, right? Or like what your process is like. And I wasn't sure if they ever like sort of talked about that in the groups or anything.
They kind of do in Mon8, but people, nobody keeps track of their expenses. Nobody has ever done a profit and loss statement. So there's this. So having accurate information, you're not going to get it. It's all going to be like shifted and mixed up with mindset. It always skitters off into mindset very quickly, and so it won't be like people will say things like, well, this is like with Mon8 in particular, they would say, well, this is an example of scripts that worked for me. And it'll be current and people will be trying to, it'll be like, okay, this is how I can do it. And I can send the video at this time. But in Rank Makers, it would be more like send in your scripts and it'll just be ripped to shreds. Oh, you should, this word, that's why you lost that person, right? But with Mon8, you would have like, at least you'd have some information, but it still wouldn't be like, what does this process look like for you? It'd be because the people that were successful were at the top of the pyramid and they would mistakenly attribute their success to their mindset or their sales techniques or their prospecting techniques or their marketing, missing the whole point that the only reason they're there is because it's the exact same percentages across all these companies. And it typically doesn't matter what time you get in at. Usually it's right near the beginning, but some people, they come in later, but those percentages never change. So that's the problem. Even if you're shown something, it can help marketing afterwards, but it's not going to make a lick of difference. So then you start thinking, this is the weird part then, is even if you're given helpful advice, you're running your poor hamster on the wheel, just like giving her. And you think that I must be doing it wrong. There must be something wrong with my mindset. I'm living in scarcity. I need to purchase more personal development coaching. I need to read more books. I need to attend this seminar. I need to get to this event because this top earner has said, now, once I got to this event, that changed everything for me.
And I will, yeah, it seems like a lot of these people, it's like they want you to perpetually be like sort of dissatisfied. And what I think is really interesting, and a lot of them will say like, kind of talk about how, well, I used to be like this and now I'm arrived.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yes. That's totally. Yeah.
And what I don't understand is if like you are in that sort of like mindset, I could always be better, I could always be learning, like, who are you learning from? Right. Like what are, like, you want people to buy your courses or to buy access to your program or whatever, but you know, they're really opaque about kind of what they're improving on or what they're working on, like, because they've arrived and you haven't. And it's always made me feel kind of weird. And also it's like, who wants to live like in a state of perpetual like dissatisfaction? I think it's important
Yes.
to improve. And something you
Yes.
brought up actually in the TikTok training that you did, which I thought was super helpful, is this idea of like self-coaching. I really like the way that you sort of frame that. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think people
Sure.
would really appreciate it.
Sure. I'm glad that you found it helpful. It's to ask yourself just really simply, what do I like and what do I not like? So, for example, like on TikTok, if you like cat content or you like when a creator does a video reply, you can use that to create content yourself or behave the same way. If there's things that you don't like, I don't like when somebody makes a video reply to somebody who's really angry. It just really brings me down. I don't think that's, you can use that information just based on your preferences to guide you, to coach yourself. You don't need to look externally to have somebody telling you, well, just ask yourself. And so another example was if you say you come across a cat video and the cat video is outside, but you don't have a cat, you're like, well, maybe what is it about the video that you like? It could be that you like the outdoors. It could be that it just made you feel really good, just that feeling. It could be any of these little attributes in that video that you saw. And so you can use that information to coach yourself.
Yeah, no, I like it because it sort of says like, okay, yeah, none of us have arrived. And you know what? I like look back at marketing even I was doing 2 years ago. Like I look at some old video thumbnails I made on YouTube and I'm like, oh, like I want to go remake all of them. But instead I just think this approach is like, it's more loving to your,
Yeah.
and it's also and compassionate to yourself, but it's also with this idea of like, let me notice things. Let me put myself in the mindset of noticing what I like and sort of
Yeah.
moving my life in that direction. And
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like that's what I liked about the term and how you explained it in your TikTok training, which is linked in the show notes below.
Thank you.
But like, it's this idea that like, yeah, I mean, do we want to always be where we're at? Of course not. Like we always, I feel like, no matter what we do, even if it's, making cat videos, I want to get better at making cat videos, obviously.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to beat myself up about it constantly or like have to, I don't know, feel like I'm in this constant state of lack about it. So I just liked this term. I'd never heard it before. I'm assuming you probably learned it in your marketing training travels. But maybe you made
Yeah.
it up.
I don't actually know where I learned it from. So that I have learned a lot from Ray. I want to stress that. I don't like to admit in my healing process and journey, but I have learned a lot from him, but self-coaching was not one of them.
Right. Well, and you'll notice in my videos too, I try to be fair and I try to point out when I agree with people and I try to like, because I'm not saying these people don't know anything about marketing because they are doing marketing. Because that's the other thing too, right? Like if you were creating a daily video on, Facebook every day, like you're going to get better at video. Like, and you said it in your training, like something about like going through the practice is going to make you better. So there is things to learn from these people. I'm not saying there isn't. But I guess what I am saying is the fact that if they position it as like this one thing made them successful or that they're the only person that you could learn this from, neither of those things is usually true.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and I thought we could close out because, so I'm not a cool Gen X TikToker, but I'm a millennial.
You're cool. You're pretty damn cool. I have to say.
I'm a millennial Gen X cusp. I'm like right on the border. So I wanted to make a whole category that I'm just calling feminist shit. So, because we're both women in business and what all these freaking trainers, I mean, not all of them, there's a couple of women, and they're honestly a little bit less problematic. I'll be completely honest with you. But I just want to talk about like, so these men are training us in sales, right? About what's working for them theoretically.
Yeah.
And it, being like, oh, I don't care. It's like that guy you dated in college that like was like, oh, whatever, like I might call you back or whatever, And it's like, I feel like as a woman, like first of all, like me doing this feels like I'm like going back to that time period and like trying to embody that guy, which
totally.
And then the other thing is that like also I just can't get away with being a complete dick like a guy can. I walked into a meeting once that was like, it was me and it was a male web developer and it was me and it was the client and my colleague looks at him and is like, well, your website sucks. Like I was like, yeah. And I'm like, holy cow. If I would have said that, he would have called me a bitch.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, but this
absolutely.
guy
Yeah.
like just said it, like he was like, yeah, your website sucks. So I think, our approach, because of the culture we're in or whatever, has to be different. But also, like, a lot of these dudes just like, they're like, oh, you shouldn't waste time, like, doing stuff around you should hire professionals maybe to like make all your meals and whatever so you can optimize your time. But like, okay, so I want you to talk a little bit because you had some great ideas in our document too about being a woman, either in an MLM or a non-MLM business, like,
Yeah.
and what it's like to be in this industry and sort of like some of the things that you sort of noticed that was different between your male colleagues or the male coaches and the stuff you talk about. And so I can talk on, like I said. So first of all, in my industry, I'm dealing with a lot of dudes. We call them programmers for a reason.
That's awesome.
And a lot of them think that what I do is just a complete waste of time because I'm interfacing with the client. Actually, one of my friends who I fucking love him. He calls me Face, like from the A Team, because I deal with all the clients. But it's really important how people feel about the work and that they understand what kinds of decisions are going into their website or going into this technical thing that they're paying somebody to do. Like, if they can't explain it, I need to be able to explain it to them and give them options so that they feel empowered about spending their money on this technology, right? Or on their marketing. And I think it's just really interesting how these roles, these sort of so like there's this push, and I'm totally into girls who code. Okay. Like I think that's great, but I also think we need other roles, and I don't think marketing should be less paid. I think that like we have to look at these sort of web and marketing projects as a team approach is kind of my opinion. And that a lot of these men get paid these very like high salaries for doing very specific things, which is great. But you need the project managers, you need the marketing team pushing out and getting the people to sell that SaaS product that bro guy is coding and stuff like that. So I have some very specific feelings about this kind of thing, but I'm wondering what yours are about your line of work and you dealing with these guys.
Okay, so I'll start off with Mon8 first. So the president and the CEO, it's Stuart McMillan, I think his name is the president, and then I think it's the dude's son. But anyway, it's these men at the top of Mon8 that they're always like, "Hi, Mon8, welcome to December. For this month, we are having," and they put these videos, they're always like in the spotlight kind of thing. And it's like mostly women involved in this. And I remember there was one specific thing that I think I wrote down. That's why I was looking. They were releasing this protein powder, but you didn't know what they were going to be releasing. But we'd get emails from Mon8 all the time. Sometimes I counted one time I had 5 emails in a day from Mon8. This is like on top of all the other stuff you're doing. Never mind the emails from rank makers on top of that. This is just extra stuff. And they had this video of Stuart and then the son's dude who may be now the CEO of Mon8, I don't know, but they're in the gym and they're like working out with those ropes, like trying to make it really cool looking, like in slow motion. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I was still in Mon8 at the time, but I'm like getting disillusioned. Like, and they're like, and then they said something like X or something. I'm like, and this was supposed to create hype and interest, I guess. And then they released that it's this protein powder. I'm like, why in the hell did they do this? Like, it's predominantly women. This is completely unrelatable, but it doesn't matter because people are just like, oh, it's like this new product. Like, oh my God, like we got to sell it. They also have with Mon8 men that like are married to a woman that is like the top income earner. They give trainings on these Facebook Live videos.
I reacted to a Jason and Christy Stone video and it was painful. I'm like, this guy's bald. How is he in Mon8?
And how does they don't know anything. Like they've never been a market partner. They know jack shit. And yet they're talking just because by the relation of being by their wife, they know it. So it's so weird. It happens a lot. Like I remember like when I was in it on Facebook, I'm like, why the hell is this guy even allowed to speak? Like he hasn't done anything. Like he's just like married to her. I never understood that. Although I didn't understand it, but I still was like, okay, sometimes I wouldn't listen to them because I thought it was stupid. That my bullshit meter was on right away. Rank makers. Oh my God. If you're a woman and you're like, I'm a single mom, you actually are a single mom or you have kids. you're like, I don't have time for this. Ray would make it very clear that there's no excuses. He always has a story for everything too, which is what we were taught to counter any objection. And it's like, because stories sell. And he would use a story of a woman who had 2 or 3 kids. I can't remember which. And she would go to like the grocery store and she would put her kids in the shopping cart and she would walk up and down, for hours until she had prospected her 20 people. And then she would go home. She didn't make any excuses and she changed her family's life. What excuses do you have? Like, meanwhile, dude can like make live videos, do all these things, and he's not cooking or cleaning or doing all the things that every other person does. So when you're in this, like, especially as a woman, you're made to feel like you're not being the best version of yourself. You're letting your kids down. We're also coached, and there's a number of clients that were in inner circle coaching, were told they're like to think of their kids being disappointed in them because they didn't show up to work their network marketing business. And it's predominantly women, that's some of it's just, it's
yeah.
gross.
And as if women need any more fucking pressure, honestly. You know what I mean? Because yeah, I know that's always bugged me about these productivity people at especially like, they're men with families. They're like a Gary V type situation. It's like, okay, you've got 2 kids, like, okay, you're not picking them up from school. You're not like packing their lunches. You're not like, and listen, like, I don't have any kids, #child free, but like, I also I have enough friends who have kids to like understand a little bit of what goes into that. But even just doing, my basic adulting things and also, running a business, it's like, it can be hard sometimes. And,
there's no empathy. Like, there's no empathy in rank makers. It's more, that's what it's, especially like talking about topics like these. It's like, no, if it's working for you, if your bank account shows that you could actually have a good enough reason to contradict what I'm telling you, then maybe see how it's working for you. But he's always in that winning position because that's how we're taught. And that's how he acts too, is that he's always in that position of authority. He's postured. He's postured around his business. And you should be too.
No, he's like, I saw something as like posturing, and I'm like, well, and he says a word over and over again. He has this very specific way of saying words too, and I don't know if it's an accent or what, but like, or just like,
I think it's on purpose. I think it's
affectation, an affectation, and like, so he'll just like, he talks about posturing, and it's like, okay, I understand. Like, listen, I understand walking into a room and being like, I know what I'm talking about because you know what you're talking about. But like, I don't understand like this whole, like, there's this line between like, I know what I'm talking about and I'm going to be a dick about it.
That's exactly it. Posture's being a dick. You're a fucking dick. That's how we are taught to behave. That's why I was a fucking dick. It's like, and his definition of posture is the belief in what you have, regardless of external acceptance or approval. So you have to show up, be in the room. I don't care what other people think of me. I feel good about what I have. That's a great concept. But you act like, I acted like a fucking dick around that with my network marketing business. I'm like, I'd make a live video. I remember one day I'm like, I can't even believe it. Here I am. It's 2021 and I can't even like bring my shampoo into a hair salon because they just are against the network marketing industry. How stupid are they? Because I was so postured around my business. Of course, a year later, I'm like, oh my God.
Well, no, but like here's the thing too. And like, just as an underlying thing is, and we talked about this ahead of this video, is like, this video is not, if you're watching this and and everyone else watching understands that this is how you're being trained to talk. Like, we know it's not you because we knew you before the network marketing company and we know you're talking now and it's different. And we also understand that like, if you feel like the world is against you, like, it's easy and you feel like this is something really personal and part of like who you are now, to like really double down on it. Like, we understand that reaction, which is why, a year from now, when you like send an email and say, sorry, I tried to sell you all that stuff. It's like, no problem, man. Like, it's fine. We've all been there. We've all been there. And and I just like hate, like I said, I hate that these men are making women feel worse. Because like I said, society is already pressuring women enough. Like, we're all supposed to be like thin and hot and we're all supposed to make a ton of money, but we're all supposed to like be at home and like, and it's like, this constant pressure. And that's what I spent my last like round of therapy on, was like unpacking these ideas I had about myself. Like, you know, especially like I do run a business. I have employees. I have infrastructure, you know, I have offices. I have like, you know, I have stuff to take care of. And then I'm at home too, you know, sometimes. So I'm like recording this from home today. And I put all this pressure on myself to like be, you know, basically run a house like a stay-at-home mom and run a business like that is my full-time thing, and everything else is being taken care of at home. And so I was putting all this pressure on myself to basically do two very full-time things, and I was wondering why I felt like I was constantly falling short in both parts of my life, in my home life and my business life, you know. And I just like sucked it up. I started buying some frozen food, and like, you know, I like blocked off a few afternoons a week for personal training. You know, like I started like making these boundaries with myself, and I was like, okay, I'm doing the best I can. It's fine. You know, this is where we're
That's
at.
so cool. You know, as you're talking, this just brought something up. I know
Yeah.
like my age group or whatever, a lot of us grew up with, it was like, I don't know, maybe it internalized misogyny? I don't know. I don't know any of these definition of words anymore. I got to learn everything because my brain is so scrambled. But so many of us grew up with saying, like really hating other women. And it would be weird. It would be like this, I'm cooler. I hang out with the guys. I'm a
Yeah, yeah.
tomboy.
All the 80s movies, like the pick
And
me kind
that
of
was
stuff.
huge. And it's only
Yeah.
been now, like I'm 47 now. And it was probably like a lot of this, you know, shit began to unravel for me, like 45, 46 when I was, and I was realizing, I'm like, oh my God, like that's huge. I grew up like that. A lot of us grew up like that. And that is, I see that being exploited in the multi-level marketing industry, is that same kind of, I'm unlike others. And so we feel like we're a part of this community. But there's also that, you know, if you're sharing this training, well, how did you write that script? They'll give you some of the scripts, but I remember I had an upline that I found out when, you know, Instagram went down or Facebook went down. Well, I have an email list. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me that you had an email? Why wouldn't you teach us that? There's always this weird competition. And I wonder how much of that plays into it, you know, just when you brought that up, I was thinking
Yeah. Well, and how much of it started to unravel when you were on TikTok? Because I will say,
oh,
like,
mostly.
a lot of like deconstruction stuff, like my, you know, weird food shit and whatever, like I spent a lot of quarantine like really learning from very different kinds of people, you know, non-diet dietitians and, you know, health at every size personal trainers and whatever, you know, like I just like really started getting exposed to a lot of these ideas that I was like, okay, like this is another way to look at it. It seems super valid, you know. 14,000 people have already liked this video. So like, you know, I see that. And it's just very like, I think what I like about TikTok the most, besides the iterative nature of it, like building on other people's content,
I love that word. I just love that. It's like a new word too. It's like out of the cult. I'm like, iterative.
Yeah. Well, I also just like that you get to like see different kinds of people and how they live their life. And it really makes you realize that like there's no such thing as like a normal or whatever. Like there's not one script, right? That's gonna make the sale for you. There's not like one, you know, email I'm gonna send that's gonna like close every, you know, close all the sales, like whatever. Like there's not one way to do it at all, because all these people are seeing success in, you know, with multiple approaches. So I think that was like the part about TikTok that I like the most is all of that. But yeah, we've been talking for a while. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we close out the broadcast? I mean, we'll plug your stuff and all that. But is there anything else you want to say like about sort of the marketing in an MLM versus marketing outside of an MLM, and sort of creating content just for fun versus doing it for a business and all of that?
Yeah, it's really hard to come up with something. I think that because there's so many things going on in my brain right now, so much of me, I'm trying to reach people that are still within, that are questioning, knowing that they're not alone. I also want to like honor what I have learned instead of being like just like fucking mad all the time. Like that's part of healing. And then gratitude, and then just like actually speaking on the topic at hand, you know. I think that creating content is a really cool way to express yourself, whether you're in a multi-level marketing company or not, and even just for fun, like on a platform like TikTok, that it can be a real release. And and also like building that kind of self-awareness and listening to your instincts more, that it, instead of, you'll hear people, it's like, don't be a consumer, be a creator. It doesn't need to be that driven, but it can be really fun. Like instead of watching a lot of content, you can just play with it. You can even just save it to your drafts. It's like finger painting. You can just be fucking around and just like fuck around and find out. That's it.
Yeah. That's what we're advocating here, to fuck around and find out. Speaking of which, are you on Be Real at all?
No, I don't know what that is. What is that?
It's a social network, and basically you get a prompt, a random whatever. It's like, film what you're doing right now, and you have 2 minutes to record something and post it. And so
that sounds like fun.
Yeah, right. Okay, so what I told my friend, because my friend has been trying to get me on it, and I was like, listen, if I wasn't creating, like, I literally create content for other people all day. Like if I, and the fact that it's like he's like, most of the time, because he's a web developer, and he's like, oh yeah, most of the time it's just me and my computer screen, because it's like, what are you doing right now? And you got 2 minutes to film it, and I'm like in the middle of something. So he's like, most of them are just my computer screen. But yeah, apparently, and so TikTok right now has launched a feature that, and I know like when you're scrolling, it'll be like, oh, 5 of your friends posted what they're doing right now.
Oh,
so
yeah,
TikTok is trying to copy the Be Real thing, I think.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think they saw like, oh, like this is a cool idea. We already have a video platform. People are already creating content, but I just haven't been able to bring myself to do it, because I'm like, I cannot give myself a daily arbitrary deadline to create something, because like today before this call, I think I've produced like 10 short videos, like 4 Instagram posts, and like I've written, like, do you know what I mean? Like my brain is just full of stuff, so so now, Julie, if people want to follow you, is it mostly the TikTok and the Instagram? But is it mostly TikTok?
Mostly TikTok. I've been kind of I like, now when you're talking about Be Real, I'm like, there's no way I would be doing that, because I did live videos every day. I'm like, having to do something. I like to just create. Sometimes I'll put out a lot of content, and then sometimes I'll take like 2 weeks off now, which I really like, but I'm predominantly on TikTok.
Yeah, I'm the same way on TikTok too. What I like about TikTok is like, you could post something and like people are just watching it like, weeks or months later. It's just kind of coming up in their feed. And even with clients, I have to kind of track it, because like, I feel like it's hard to see like what date something was posted. So I have to like keep track, because the client will be like, when did you post this TikTok? And I'm like, oh yeah, I got to be better at updating the spreadsheet to put it in, because like I sometimes can't exactly tell when it was posted, like when you're looking at it's not super clear. So follow Julie on TikTok. And you can check out her TikTok training, which is linked in the show notes below, and her other videos on that channel. My fucking cat. He's in a box. Of course he's in a box. Yep. Yeah. It's like there's one box in the entire house, and he has found it, and it is open. Julie, thanks so much for your time today. It was so fun to have this conversation.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Take care.